A lot of the stories we look at here involve events that leave their mark on the land and the people around it. Paranormal energy that can still be witnessed, whether it be in the form of an active, intelligent haunting, a residual haunting, or simply some strange event that crops up periodically, such as anniversaries or when weather conditions are just right. The paranormal is funny like that. You never really know what you're going to get. Stranger still, some paranormal events seem to be a one-off thing. Events that crop up for a short time, then disappear, leaving nothing behind but unsolved mysteries. I'm sure many of you have experienced things like that. Something happened to you that you just can't explain. A one-time event that came and went without a trace, but still left a big enough impact that it's still fresh in your mind, no matter how long ago it happened. Today's story is one of those. An event happened in Atlanta, Georgia, which led to police reports and an active investigation. And just like that, it was gone, leaving behind questions on top of questions, and a police case that technically is still open today. Everyone loves a good, strange, weird, or bizarre story. Well, welcome to the American South, where dark legends and haunted history lurk around every corner. Where superstition, folklore, and a touch of backwoods magic blend with everyday culture. Some say, in order to survive. This is Dixie After Dark. (1987), the home of William and Minnie Winston. The elderly couple had been married at that point for 44 years, and for the most recent 22 years of their marriage, they lived in the brick home on the corner of Fountain Drive and Morris Street in southwest Atlanta, Georgia. They lived a good, normal life for the most part, but on the evening of September 8th, 1987, something happened that they couldn't explain. Minnie Winston, then 77 years old, was preparing for bed around midnight. She followed her normal nightly routine, but this time, when she got out of the shower, she discovered the bathroom floor sprinkled with splotches of red. She ran to the bedroom to get her husband, 79-year-old William Winston, urging him to come check things out, describing it as, quote, red stuff coming out of the floor. In coming to see what may be the problem, the couple noticed the same thing on the lower section of the walls in the hallway, bedroom, and kitchen, underneath their television in the living room, and a later search even found the same in the crawl space beneath the house. The couple contacted the police, claiming no knowledge of what it could be, even admitting that their lives were so uneventful that this was the very first time either of them have ever contacted the police for anything. During the initial search by the police, the strange substance scattered throughout the house appeared to be blood, but police could find no evidence or suspicion of a crime being committed. Because of the sight, though, homicide investigators were brought in. Detective Steve Cartwright stated that in his 10 years of service, he had never seen anything quite like it. Detective Richard Price said that his first instinct was perhaps it was due to an animal, but the Winstons didn't own any pets, and the couple swear that they had never had issues with mice or rats before, or any kind of pest at all, not even a single roach. The police continued their search on the premise that the substance was blood, but Minnie Winston wasn't so sure. In her official statement, she said that it didn't look like blood and it didn't smell like blood. Whatever it was, though, it was spread throughout the home, in splotches ranging in size from a dime to that of a silver dollar. The next suspicion was William Winston himself. It was discovered that there was a dialysis machine in the couple's bedroom, and William spent the majority of his time attached to it for medical purposes. Maybe there had been an accident with it or something, but both William and Minnie denied this. Besides, the blood-like substance had not been in the bathroom before Minnie's shower, and William had not been in the bathroom during her time there. William's response was, quote, "I don't know what the stuff is. My wife is upset because she doesn't know where it came from. Me, I'm not bothered by it because I'm in bad enough shape as it is." End quote. The police did what they could, took samples of the mysterious substance, and ultimately concluded their search for the night. News of that night was quick to spread in the community, though, and the house became known as, quote, "the Bleeding House," drawing in enough curious neighbors and others that the police declared the Winstons' home a crime scene to keep trespassers out. 2 days later, on September the 10th, the initial test results came back to the police. The substance found in the Winstons' home was definitely blood. Human blood. Type O to be exact, where our boy William was type A. Minnie wasn't sure what hers was, so she scheduled a doctor's appointment at the request of the police, and the next day, she found out she was also type A. Neither occupant of the home matched the blood that was found in the house. With these findings, Atlanta detectives were growing more frustrated. Lieutenant Horace Walker made a statement to the press that, quote, "We will continue a routine investigation, and if we find that no crime was committed, we're through with it. As we see it now, there has been no crime." Detective Price followed up with, quote, "We're still trying to figure out where the blood came from. There were no leads, but we plan to check with the state crime lab today about other possibilities." But there is where things get a little strange, as there was growing friction between the Atlanta police and the state of Georgia's crime lab. Initially, when the police on site at the Winstons' home thought the blood was left behind by some sort of wounded animal, they sent the samples to Grady Memorial Hospital, not the crime lab. It was only after the blood was determined to be human that the crime lab was notified, and that was 13 hours later. Crime Lab Director Larry Howard made a statement that if they had been supplied with a more fresh sample right away, they would have been able to know more, such as sex, race, and identify any traces of drugs or alcohol. The only thing the Crime Lab was able to determine that the police or hospital couldn't was that it appeared that the blood had either been shaken off of something or expelled from something, but what that something could have been, they never elaborated on. The Atlanta PD continued investigating as much as they could, but no new evidence ever revealed itself. But as the story gained legs, it was spread across the region and more, with newspapers and radio shows as far away as California picking it up. The Atlanta police were flooded with calls from all over, and back in Atlanta locally, it was all the police could do to keep nosy people out of the Winstons' home. The Winstons' home phone number was eventually found out, and they were flooded with calls as well. Minnie Winston made a statement to the local newspaper that, quote, "The phone rang all night and I'm fed up with it." She stayed firm in her beliefs that the substance that was found was not blood, no matter what the police report said, and she tried her best to stay out of it. People are coming out here to see it and troubling us. I haven't had any sleep today, and I probably won't get any tonight. As the days passed, the Winstons grew more and more aggravated with the situation. One article reports that Minnie was heard yelling from the house. "What they've said about all this is lies. Just leave us alone." Followed by William yelling, "There is no blood in this house. Now get away from here." That worked about as well as you can expect, though, and one reporter was even able to sneak into the house. He reported blood spots on the floor and lower walls of the living room as large as a quarter before being discovered and removed by police. But over the next few days, no new blood appeared, and unfortunately, no new leads ever came to light. Even today, the case remains open, technically, but no new reports were ever filed. I'm not sure how much more could be done with it today. Still though, the 1987 event is still spoke about in some circles, both within the paranormal aspect and as an unsolved crime. Of course, I had to weave through the overly exaggerated articles to find the bare facts for you all. One article states that, quote, "The red liquid was everywhere, along the baseboards and smeared across the walls. Dime and silver dollar droplets splattered everywhere around her. And that's when a geyser of blood shot through the wooden floor, projecting out as though the home had nicked an invisible artery, further spreading and painting the hallway red." I couldn't help but laugh and shake my head at that one. As awesome of a tale as that would have been, it simply isn't supported by any of the evidence, and I'm not going to do that to all of you here. I'm also going to steer clear of the reports trying to connect it to a Mesopotamian blood seed demon, other than to say that if this is true, I guess the demon sprayed a bit of blood on the floor, looked at it and said, "Job well done," before leaving and never coming back. Well, I guess it never came back because William and Minnie defeated the demons themselves, as the article states that the yelling from inside the house was in fact William and Minnie battling the blood seed demon and winning. The reporters outside misunderstanding the shouts as being meant for them instead. The article goes on to state that William and Minnie gathered the powers of their ancestors, and Minnie became a physical warrior goddess, devouring the blood droplets as they fell, preventing the droplets from turning into physical creatures themselves, and the blood seed demon, seeing himself defeated, fled from Atlanta, never to come back, or something like that. Okay, let's reset our focus. Another article tries to tie the strange event to a former resident, Albert Thompson. In 1950, Mr. Thompson was involved in a car accident when his vehicle was rammed by a truck. Thompson was rushed to the hospital and survived. He was treated and released, where he returned to his home. The cause of the accident was determined to be faulty brakes on the other truck. But in the author of that article's mind, the true cause was racism, as Albert Thompson was a black man and the driver of the truck was white. Albert Thompson survived the accident and lived many more years in the same house. But according to the article, quote, "The event was marked not only by the violence of the collision itself, but also a different sort of violence, the violence inherent in the absence of consequences for the offending party. The event was swept under the rug, and the victim suffered on Fountain Drive, wounds hidden and ignored." End quote. In the 1950s, yeah, sure, racism could have played a part, I guess. But that's the extent of their explanation as to why the supposed haunting happened one time 37 years later. They try to say that it was the time frame that led up to the anniversary of the date of the accident, but it was actually weeks before. Or either it led up to the anniversary of Mr. Thompson's death, years after the car accident, and which would have been 53 days after the Blood House event. Yeah, this story is a tangled web of modern retellings trying their damnedest to make it something that it really wasn't. The stories of blood oozing down the walls, smeared and covering everything in sight, simply aren't true. But the accounts of the blood splatter, at least, are true. The fact that it was determined to be human blood is true. And the fact that the blood type of the samples did not match anyone in the house is true. So why did I decide to cover this? Well, to bring the facts of the case back to light for the most part. But this story can also serve another purpose. By only looking at the facts and keeping clear of the more outrageous claims that others have made since, there is a lesson that can still be learned from this story. When simply looking at the facts, there are two potential scenarios. The event was paranormal, and somehow something caused the energy in that home to manifest actual physical human blood. That's scary enough in itself, but there's a more horrific scenario that could explain this. Perhaps there was a person there, someone that had gained access to the Winstons' home, lurking through the dark shadows, dripping blood from some unseen wound. Remember, the blood type never matched Minnie or William. And when was the blood discovered? When Minnie got out of the shower, not when she got in. If the blood was from a physical person, they stood there, silent and undetected, with only a thin sheet of plastic shower curtain between Minnie and some unknown threat. I don't see any need to over-sensationalize this one. You tell me, which of those scenarios are more scary to you?